Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the World of Dogmen. This was more of an impromptu episode, and if you see me dancing around here a little bit because the bugs are biting my legs at the moment, but anyway, this was more of an impromptu. We came out here to Goldwater Lake and Park Recreation Area again to see who is going to talk. And I do believe it is Dogmen related. I know our first episode was on YouTube, and the rest of these will now be here on Patreon. So I know they wanted to divide up each topic type and each race type of Dogmen. I know the original group went into some of the Antiquan history, and I know each descendant lineage wanted to go into their own stories and their own topics of interest. So it's not going to be like your usual research dogmen finding their lair sort of thing, even though I would like that. I would like to go into those locations. That option has not presented itself to us at the moment, so we are doing things this way to start out with. So now I will, unless you have anything to say, Joanna?
No, yeah, I have no idea what's getting ready to happen.
Okay. Yeah, and I have no idea what these guys are going to say. So, we will go with that. But first, make sure. That's so I can get the channeling just in case that craps up. So. A little uneven here. I think the dogman that wants to talk is a shorter one, like a little.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Well, there's other ones around, but it's just a little one that he's a little one that wants to come in, like a midget-sized one. So. I don't even know his name, so let's see. Greetings, everyone. I must be brief given certain energetic circumstances. My name is Letus, and I am of a group of dogmen that are 4'2" and under. You may think that is more like a puppy or you would call midget sized. And yes, you would be correct. There are shorter versions of us. You see, we are not all the tall werewolf stature type. Some of the shorter ones are more your house dog type with the same personality and intelligence level. We are not saying they are not intelligent, but they are more of an animal type. I may look similar to them, except for the fact that I am at a more, you would say, neocortex stage of development, with certain higher reasoning and the like you would determine through your evolutionary scale. Again, not trying to bash animal kind versus our kind, but that is how the two groups diverged. And yes, it was a divergence between the two groups. Some, because of certain magnetic fields and energy fields on your world, went into more of an animal stage, while other ones went into a slightly higher intelligence stage. The animal ones are very much like your dogs, where they can absorb ailments out of other humans and other beings. They are very well known for helping heal other tribes of not only Native Americans, you would call them, but dogmen, as well as some of your Sasquatch and forest people groups. My grouping, when it diverged from that other group, we moved into a different area of your world that was actually very forest-like, while the dog type ones, I should say, or animalistic type ones, moved into caves. This ended up completely separating the two divergent paths, very much like you have different dogs that supposedly descend from what you call the dire wolf or the wolf. And yes, there are truths to this. Some of your myths of the dire wolf are very much myths about dogmen. But I digress. This is how your werewolf myths got started. In this, we live and continue to live in your forests, along with the larger dogmen races, 2 other dogmen races to be exact. The larger one of which was aforementioned, the big werewolf stature, and a slightly, you would say, fuzzier type of werewolf stature, but narrower shouldered and slightly shorter. We evolved a smaller size, at least I suspect, not only because of some genetic engineering recessive genes that eventually popped out, you would say, amidst all the entire gene pool, but the original purpose was to have a smaller guardian or smaller worker, very much how some of your dwarven clones were created to get into smaller places by the Dark Anunnaki. You call them. In this, as we live in your forests, we do hunt the deer and other prey animals. We are a meat-eating kind, and the children of our kind tend to be very, very mischievous, very much like children do. Some can be thieves, some can be very violent. Now, what I wished to come in to say is this: as the energies change on your world and ours, our evolutionary paths are converging. In this, what you would call a harmonic convergence, even though that happened roughly 30 years ago, as you would see it, it is also a merging of ideals, communications, and species. Not necessarily just on the physical level, but on the energetic, in the what you would call the benevolent akashic. We have an easier time of communicating because we are in the frequency of what you would call 5D, and some slightly above that. We are scattered throughout some of the frequencies, depending on what you would call polarity we belong to, but that doesn't necessarily always mean that you cannot switch frequencies. Meaning whether you have good intentions or bad does not always make it so that you rise in frequency or lower. It has to do with you opening your heart space and becoming sovereign and adaptive and more knowledgeable of the ability set. This is how we have observed it over a period of time. And now we are delivering this message to you currently at this point in time. We know only a few will hear this. So, we know some of these few that are hearing this will indeed receive this message in its most raw form. We are attempting communications with your kind, but there are other violent versions of our kind that have also made contact. We do not blame you for your fears. You have been far removed from the realms of the mysterious, the cryptid, and the magical. We know because of technology and some of your society and societal beliefs that you have been far removed from this. We understand this and cautiously await the time of communication. We do work with the other dogman groups, including the Antiqua. What's left of that particular you would call slender look of theirs, meaning the grand bulk of what you would run into are the muscular types because of the gravitational fields and magnetic fields on your world that needed to be adapted to. Your world is very unique in that respect, that these fields have not only downed ships, but created unique forms of life not seen anywhere else in your galaxy. This is also why Earth is sought after for certain resources, because it cannot be gotten anywhere else, nor can some of these resources be replicated. They can only be grown, or, as you would say, let Mother Nature take its course. So, with this, I am open to questions.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. So I find it quite interesting. You're saying, again, we can only use the language and understanding we currently have. You would say you reside in what we interpret as the fifth density, where we're heading, in a frequency that it's not quite 100% visible to us, but that's where you normally, and your race and your group has normally residing right now. Do you guys ever choose to come in and, let's say, be visible in some of these other densities? Or are you really just staying there and would prefer to stay there until we grow and then you become visible to us? I'm just curious what your choice is.
It's actually a little of both. We do prefer to stay, but we know your kind sometimes needs to see to believe. So we make ourselves known to you, not in a scary fashion, except there are some of us that do, not of my tribe that is, that actually wish to show ourselves, to smooth the waters, as you would say, for communication. We know if we make ourselves visible to you, that the fear can only be momentary if you let it be, and then allow your more intuitive self to come forth. Now, are we allowing for your kind to meet us? Yes, and that has actually already occurred in a lot of cases. Your kind has ridden the river of energy to our frequency and come to our door, very much like any other species that you are now running into. This is also a reason why you're running into so many plethoras of different species. However, the ones that promote fear amongst your society have tried to promote dogmen as fearsome and nasty, and yes, there are those. We are not denying this. And there are those that have been genetically bred within your society, and there are those transformative types that can take the form of man and beast. You would call these werewolves, but there are those out there that fit none of these categories, that just merely want to be left alone in their privacy. And they eventually will come around, but they do not look anything like we do. But I digress. I will let them answer their questions when the day comes. They are more of a mountain-dwelling dogman that look very much like an old man with a beard. And they exist also in mountain caves. The other dog-like ones that act animalistic are in lower land cave types.
So for your group, okay, again, you're not one of the ones that is transformative, as you were mentioning the werewolf. You pretty much stay in the look that you currently are in. Is that correct?
Indeed, we do take our own form as we have been. We keep and retain that form. We do not have the ability to transform back and forth. That particular ability turned out to be an anomaly of your particular set of energy and magnetic fields a long time ago.
Okay. And so if we were currently completely in 5D, if this forest was representative of your home, because you reside in the forest, not in caves. And we came upon, I guess, I don't know what you call it. I guess I would call it your village, your group. I don't know, not sure how you refer to it. what would we see? Would we see structures? What would we see? How would you guys be dressed? Do you wear clothing? Do you choose to just stay in the skin you're in? What would it look like to us?
You have a very accurate analogy to our kind in the respect in your Star Wars trilogy, very much like your Ewok villages with the sticks and the huts. Very much like this, but since they are in a different frequency, they are not seen. They are smelled and heard, mind you, by your kind. But they are not seen. Smell meaning the woods that were used, and some woods are indicative to the frequencies that we are in. You'll find that there are plants indicative to certain frequencies that have a glow to them, very much like in your Jules Verne tales of the inner earth. But in this, our villages very much look like the Ewok villages, and we even have plants that can light up the villages, and we have stones that can do the same in some cases, not always. The earth is not always as forthcoming with those particular resources. We do wear clothing on occasion, but we prefer necessarily to wear very little because our adaptive abilities and our adaptive genome to nature make it slightly uncomfortable to wear clothing, but we do fashion weapons and armor plates if the need arises, and we do use animal skins very much like your native tribes have done.
And so in the same, continuing the conversation, if you're comparing yourself to an Ewok or an Ewok type situation, then your race is spacefaring or not?
No, we are not spacefaring. We have been earthbound for a few thousand years now, and we prefer it this way, though we do have the ability to actually access some of our forebears' earlier technologies, such as crystal technologies and the like.
And so again, let's just really try to paint this picture for people. Your forebears, again, where you actually came from, would go up the line. And again, I know this is wrong, but I don't know any other way to say it. Kind of up the tree to the Antiqua, but still coming down. You mentioned there was genetic tampering. There was certain things that happened along with the magnetics and the special physics of this particular world. So it sounds like to me the race of you that is here really isn't anywhere else. You guys are here, and this is where you are. This is your home. You just happen to be in fifth density. Is that correct?
Yes, just like your kind, we have adapted many different races here and have had different attributes assigned to us here on your world. Yes, this planet is now native to us since we are a unique tribe of Dogman indicative to planet Earth itself. And yes, we do descend from the Antiqua like the rest of the Dogmen and Dogmen genome does, even the tampered with genome by your military industrial complex, of which I will not get into currently, but all of the genome can trace its origins back to Canis Major.
Okay. And so, again, if you traveled yourself back to Canis Major, you would be seeing, I guess you would say, your cousins or someone like that, because there is the connection, but it's very, very unique here. And I'm just restating that again. What I'm curious about is, again, if you could turn on the light bulb to 5D and even this Earth in that frequency, let's call it, people would be aghast at how much life there really was, I'm sure.
Indeed, yes.
Okay, so what I am trying, and we've heard many galactics say that a lot of races and a lot of souls love 5D. It's the most exciting. There's so much to do. There's so much to see. There's so much variety. And 5 and 6 or whatever is kind of some people would call it the sweet spot of excitement. Okay, so I am curious, with all of that in mind, what do you think about all of it? Who do you get along with? What is your exploration that And what are your interests, again, as a group? Are you all scientists? Are you all, interested in certain things? Or just something in the realm of what you're doing, your races in 5D and your experiences with the other races and different, beings beside you?
We get along with mostly everyone, unless they are of a conquering nature, like some of your very own kind have clashed with us before when they realized they could cross the density and frequency layers with technology that other species out them showed them how to do. We had to adapt quickly by modulating that frequency, you would say, to be able to hide from them. But it was actually very easily done. We are not boasting, but it actually was. The populace in what you would call 5D is quite remarkable, because not only are the plant species the most plentiful, but the variety of people is the most plentiful. Most of the species you will run across in that particular frequency wavelength will be a mixture of good and bad. You will not find, and I repeat, you will not find a purity in that particular density. You will find a mix, very much like you have now. As you say, the radio dial is turned to that frequency, and you can hear that frequency most clearly, and you can see that frequency most clearly. This does not mean it is, as you'd say, divinely inspired, and light beings do not reside there, but you will find your flesh and blood brothers that have been watching over you since the inception of the illusion. What you will find there is less, and I repeat, less of the troubles that you are finding yourselves in, because you have gotten to a stage where those particular troubles are left in a different timeline, let's just say. For those of you that do not understand certain levels of physics, we will just say when you reach that level, we are not saying that you will not find, as you call them, asses there, and you will not find those of pure thought and stature and intellect. You will find others that have wanted you to reach that level and following that course of that river for many centuries now. Those that retained that area of reality, and those that have regained that level of reality, very much like your own people are doing.
So I find it really, this conversation, really interesting with you, and I'm going to be quite honest. I just don't recall. Chris may have said things before, but I actually don't really recall Chris bringing in something that was in relation to communication with your race before. I know he's talked about the Dogmen, that are more out in space. They love to trade, but is this a new conversation for you, or has Chris spoken to you before? I'm just curious.
Periodically, he has conversed with our kind, but not in this exact breath, coming across our kind in various sessions and in various, say, cleansings, but not in this particular entirety, no.
Okay, I was just curious. So, is there a particular part of the world that your group tends to want to be in, or are you populated all throughout?
We are populated mostly throughout. We do not prefer deserts, and we do not prefer frozen areas, but we prefer moderately temperatured forest areas, and we can tolerate a little snow and a little heat. But would we go further south into your Phoenix area? No.
No, this is about as bad as it is for you guys right here.
Indeed.
And again, there really is, just again to try to make it clear, we are about an hour and a half, we would be kind of northwest, I think, of the Phoenix area. Phoenix is in a lower valley. I don't remember the altitude. It may be no more than 2,000 feet, whereas we're at 300 feet and above in the Prescott area. The temperature here is at least, let's say, about 20 degrees cooler average daytime, there often is a really nice wind. And like now, when the sun goes down, the temperature does go down, unlike Phoenix, where it can stay really, really hot. And so here shortly, it'll be a very pleasant 72 degrees with low humidity. So this area, being in the mountains that it is, really can be pleasant. During the daytime with that direct heat, you want to stay out of the sun, even though the temperatures are less just because it's such direct sun. But after that, or in times like this, it's extremely pleasant. So I just trying to, even though we're only an hour and a half away, I'm trying to just give people an idea that there really is truly a difference between here and there. So I find that interesting. So my curiosity is, why have you guys taken a vested interest in now wanting to start to make yourself known, wanting to let yourself be starting to be seen? What is kind of the philosophy of your group that's now wanting to do this, and do you feel that there's a particular function in all this you're supposed to be participating in?
Yes, indeed. We just wish to work together with, as you would say, like-minded humans that we've seen reaching a particular level. We do and have tried to interact with your kind around that of what you call the harvest time of year, or the Samhain, or Halloween times, and have appeared to people then, but some of your kind has interpreted us as ghouls and goblins and baby thieves, as some have said. So in those times, we, as you say, hung that hat back on the hook. Mm-hmm. And then we attempted, in now your more modern era, to attempt communications once again. It is actually more of a unity reason that we do it, in order to work together with your kind. This is why we, and also the forest people, show themselves. It is a form of communication, and we know in time all of our peoples will be functionally working together again. We know this is a necessary step, even though it is, as you would say, a spooky or scary step, because your kind, as we said, have been far removed from the realms of magic for a very long time. Not for all of you, mind you, but a majority of you have.
Yeah, so well, I'm going to go back in the day then. So back in the day, as the Dogmen were becoming different races due to a variety of reasons. One could be genetic manipulation. One could be how the earth environment and the magnetics were treating certain genetics, because obviously you were explaining that your genetic lineage went one way, but some still became more dog-like, and it had to do with the magnetics and how the earth is. So is it reasonable to say that your particular group did not, I don't want to say suffer the fate, but didn't de-evolve further? You were able to keep yourself, just like we were talking to a group of Titans not too long ago, and again using the word Titans only in meaning originals, people that were original to Earth. It does not mean the Wikipedia, definition of Titans, that they had kind of made a decision to not, if they could avoid it, they wouldn't go any, let's say, lower in density. They wouldn't de-evolve. They put themselves someplace to keep themselves from de-evolving. Mm. And now we're coming around to say hello to them because we're evolving. Is that the same for your group, or did you guys have a period of even more de-evolution before you're back to 5D? I'm just curious.
No, it is indeed, as you say, that we did have the split, and they were the ones that de-evolved, and we did stay within our frequency, at least some of us did, and then had to reacquire that frequency. Though it was a difficult challenge and a difficult thing to watch some of your own split and de-evolve, we knew it was a necessary thing, because your own energy fields and magnetic fields, given enough time, would create a completely different race and species of dogmen that were very similar to our own, but had different adaptations and different expertise areas, let's just say. Very much like your own people have different divided expertise and different characteristics and different colors and different hair colors and eye colors and the like. This, we found out, would happen to that split-off species of our own. At one point in your own histories, we attempted to show some of your kind that of, you would say, alchemic practices. In some respects, we do know the different plants in nature that are safe and some that are not. And we attempted to show this to some of your kind back in what you would call the Puritan age. In that age, unfortunately, it was misinterpreted as witchcraft. And yes, I guess it is. But this is also why we tended not to interfere, because it turned the tides of your history, given the draconian influence on the planet at the time. We were hoping reconnecting people to, as you would say, the Earth Mother would give them new insight. But some of your kind had actually taken a step backwards in that particular evolution and had the grasp of the Draconian Empire at the time. So we had to take a step back. Something very similar happened to our own kind.
Okay. And, I'm sure, like other races, every now and then you were saying you kind of put your toe in to see, was this a good time to converse? Was this a good time to be helpful? And even from the witchcraft days, did you every now and then stick your toe in to see, could we be of help now? And then now is really when you're confident is the right time? Is that what you did as a race? Every now and then kind of try and see, could we make a difference? Or
Yes, indeed. We knew the fear level was high at the time during what you would call the witch burnings, but we attempted to quell some of these particular events to no avail. The Draconian Empire was much stronger then than it is now at that particular time, so we did not want to risk our own populations to them. But we did assist where we could and planted a seed of information here and there in human books and tomes. Even further back in history we tried as such, but we attempted to plant those seeds amongst humans that were enthralled or in the grasp of and the control of the Draconian Empire. We eventually began to succeed when people began to look at the Earth Mother again and began to involve themselves in the ways of plants and different, as you would say, mixtures.
Okay. So now that you guys have decided, well, it seems to be the right time, we're going to reach out to more people in a channeling sort of way, make our introductions, make sure everybody knows there's a wide variety of dogmen. And it's not all the fear mongering that's out there right now. But what I'm curious about is your methodology. So in that introduction phase, obviously this is one way, just pure channeling. But another way, obviously, is like you said, when you let yourself be seen. So in that sense, what does a normal person of your race look like? You said no one's really higher than, I believe you said 4'2". Okay, and so again, we call you dogmen, assuming that the facial structure is somewhat similar to us in that sense. Is that true?
Yes, very similar to yourselves, but dwarven in height, as we said. The highest is 4'2". We can range in colors from black to reddish color, blonde, brown, all of the hair colors that humankind have. We also have a stubbier snout that would look very much like how you would depict some of your werewolf depictions in horror movies, with a pushed-in snout a little more. Some have been known to grow them longer, but that is more of an anomaly amongst our kind. It is more of an offshoot to those with the longer noses, very much like how some of your dogs are mixes. In this, when we evolved our very own race, there was a particular trait along our back that began to form. Some dogs have these as hackles, but when we are angered in some way, yes, those do raise very much like in your dog, but they look very much like how a small mohawk would look. If we were angered, this is more of a defensive position. We would never outwardly attack. However, our split-off brothers have a similar defensive measure, and they will. This is a slight difference between ours. The way we look is we have larger feet and hands, very much like yourselves. However, the feet have claws and they are more paw-like, but we do have toes, very much like a stoutier human would have, and we have hands very much like a human would have, but with claws.
And in general, again, covered with hair.
Yes.
But you were using the example of an Ewok. So is the hair length similar to one like that, or was that just more of a different conversation for your village? I'm just curious about, would somebody look at you and go, is that a human or is that a dog?
They would recognize immediately that we had dog traits. The Ewoks that were presented in your Star Wars movies, granted, were slightly less of our traits,
right,
but had more of our other attributes, such as the villages and the ways of living.
Okay, and so hair length of your arms, your legs, your trunk could vary.
Vary, just like your very own kind. We have a mixture of hair and fur that could be curly, long, straight, any of those. Very much also like the forest people have as well.
Okay, so do you find your particular group is kind of a, let's call it more safe group to try and introduce first, because your look, let's just go with the look. Your look in general, someone would stare going, wow, that's kind of a dog on two legs walking around, but the face looks a little humanist, but they wouldn't necessarily be in as much fear as what's been portrayed, or what has been your experience, and what have you been told about the introduction of themselves to another human, and how does the human react?
The fear levels are up to the individual humans or in human groupings and what they have been taught and the beliefs that they believe, however. But we have noticed that humans have been more receptive to our kind versus the larger, muscular, werewolf-looking type ones. They seem to be more menacing to your kind. So we are the ones that initiate a lot of the contact telepathically. However, the other groups do as well, but humans have been more receptive to our kind, except that in the Puritan age.
Okay, and then your society. So you're worldwide, minus, you like to stay in the little bit more temperate zones, not the extreme zones, but you're everywhere.
Yes.
Okay. So how do you guys all work together? Is there I hate to use the word government, but is there an organization within your group that helps unify you guys in different things, or how does that work?
Not necessarily a government. We all trade with one another, very much like your tribes would. Granted, we do have a chieftain, you would say, but not necessarily in a kingship sort of way. It's more of a mutual respect leadership sort of way. Are there governors for different territories? Yes and no. It is more of an understanding between the governing body and the people that are within a village. Granted, do different governors, you would say, govern a certain sphere of influence? Yes, and do some of those tribes have slightly different methodologies in plant and animal expertise? Yes, but are they so vastly different that they don't get along? No, they actually speak the same language, but they've adapted slightly differently to different countries on your planet and different temperate zones around your planet. But the leader is more or less like a Native American chieftain or a Viking chieftain would be to a people, but not necessarily in a dictatorship sort of way.
So in general, is it fair to say that the groups around the world normally are cooperative and can compromise with one another, and is that normally the way you guys all get along, or?
Yes and no. There are other Dogman groups that have fought with one another because, again, of your energy fields and of your your frequency layers that they find themselves in, the different densities wear on beings after a while, especially nature beings. In this particular instance, yes, there are other dogmen groups that have been violent towards us, but we've been able to quell them in such a way that we've been able to turn them loose afterwards. It's been very rare that we've had to enact violence against another dogman group. In those instances, it's usually been either that they are more instinctual, like the ones that are animalistic, or ones that have been controlled in some way.
However, the ones that you would more relate to, meaning same frequency, same similarities, your group within the Dogman group find a way to work pretty much well together around the world.
Indeed,
you may
yes.
have problems with the other races. So
Yes, we have problems with some of the other races, or intrusions by some of the other races, but we've never fought with one another.
So what are your interests? What is it that you guys are aspiring to learn and do and grow? I mean, what do you guys, is there anything particular, scientific-wise, nature-wise, artistic-wise? What do you guys like?
We're very intrigued by certain artistic forms of plants, you would say, different horticultural types of interest, trees, grasses, and also how to coexist with nature, and we are intrigued by humans that do the same.
So, if you trade and barter, what are you known for?
That is a very difficult question. However, if humans were to see us trading, they would see us as being known for trading hides and trading, as you would say, different plant mixtures and different, as you would say, art pieces, but that is not necessarily a completely accurate thing. It is more of like a blessing, how you would leave a blessing in a site. Whenever we trade, we leave a wooden piece or cloth piece with that as a form of a blessing.
Okay, so thank you. It's kind of getting dark here, and so I know we're going to need to end this sooner. We'll be out of light. So I've tried my best to really give a good perspective of who you guys are. So I'm going to leave you to any last words you want to say.
Yes, indeed. Though there are other groups out there that would also claim they've helped all of you with gaining interests in plants and gaining interests in nature, we have also initiated that level of contact with your kind and appreciate the forum by which we can speak to all of you, or the yous that are on the particular forum this will go on. This actually begins the communication process even with a smaller grouping of people that are of a similar understanding. Then this spreads that information far and wide, not only through the benevolent earth of Keswick, but then in the hearts and the minds of other people. This will spread, now that it has been spoken about in the open ethers, to others. Even if there are others that do not see this communication, this will travel to other people in a what would seemingly be a much smaller degree, but it is much more far-reaching than you will ever know. From my people to yours, this is a blessing to us as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, it is getting dark out here. All right. It's very nice out here. This is the typical environment that they would be in. Like where the rocks are piled up, you see in the background, and they're up this way over here. They prefer environments like this with all the trees like this, very much like an Ewok village to be. They could literally build a whole village and colony in an environment like this. And it just looks exactly like this. It has no real difference, except there are like glowing plants, like you hear the jokes about glowing mushrooms and stuff like that would grow on trees, and people think, oh, it's like a fairy plant or something like that. They also see the glow from different plants as well that communicate with them more in that particular frequency. Sorry, there's a lot of bugs out here. But that's what they wanted to convey. Like, say, this tree here. Say you're looking at this now, or any of these. you would literally see some more of their energy fields, like a certain glow to them, or bioluminescent mushrooms, or bioluminescent leaves on
But
plants.
that's just what we get to look forward to as we move into, again, the fifth density, because that is our Earth. It's much more brilliant, colorful, bioluminescent. We're just going to see more.
We're just going to see more of it, yes. So thank you, everyone, for watching this special episode of The World of Dogmen. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Good night.